Well, hi everyone, Sean Humphreys here. Welcome to All Things Retirement. In this installment, we're going to talk about some really important principles that stand right beside your investment plan and your financial plan. And these principles will help you to improve the probability of success, particularly during times like what we're going through right now. There's no doubt that because of geopolitical stresses and economic stresses, most of us are worried, we're concerned, there's anxiety. During those times, the impulses that are driven off the emotions and anxiety can lead us to make decisions that are low probability and can actually sabotage our financial outcomes. So these are really important principles. We'll talk about 6 of them in this video. Now, if you're new to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're posting content all the time on various aspects of retirement income planning and overall wealth planning. And if you like this video, make sure you click like. Okay, let's cover off those 6 principles. Okay, so when you're feeling some anxiety, maybe you're in bed at night looking up at the ceiling and worrying about the world's circumstances, the first thing to keep in mind is be a little stoic. Follow the example of the Stoic philosophers. Marcus Aurelius would say, you want to focus less on what's happened to you and more about your response to what has happened to you. That's a more productive reaction to circumstances of life. And what you want to do is make sure that you follow his basic principle, which is choose not to be harmed. So how can you apply that Stoic philosophy to investing? We'll call it Stoic Investing. And the idea is don't let the emotions of the moment dictate your investment decisions. That's the basic idea of what you can apply from the Stoics around investing. So how do you accomplish that? First of all, make sure you've got a plan. That plan probably was put together with lots of thought and foresight, and that should be guiding your reactions and responses to the current environment. Number 2, hopefully you have an investment policy statement. Again, an investment policy statement helps to define your risk level that you feel comfortable with, what your goals are. Sometimes for those of you who've been investing for a long time, your long-term performance may be very good. It's still competitive relative to the downturn in the markets right now. And so you want to look at the history, what went well, and take encouragement out of that. And then lastly, when it comes to the Stoics, you need to recognize the fact that we naturally weigh loss far greater than gain. And so we need to be conscious of that because subconsciously that fear of loss drives a lot of decisions and bad decisions when it comes to our financial planning and our investment planning. Okay, so that's principle number 1. Be a little more stoic when it comes to your portfolio. Be a little bit more dispassionate and try to follow what the Stoics recommend we do in those circumstances. Now, the second principle is try to be conscious of the amount of doom scrolling that you're engaging in. And that's just being on your iPad or your smartphone, or even your computer, and just scrolling through websites and information, Facebook feeds that are a constant drumbeat in terms of sensationalizing the negative. It doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to that information, but I think a good principle is begin developing the habit of maybe doing that once a day and don't do it all through the day. You really just want to become a little more intentional around what you're doing in terms of that scrolling because it can build up anxiety and it'll be one of the contributing forces that will lead to subpar decisions and create additional anxiety when it comes to the current events and maybe it would have a negative impact on some of your responses in your investment plan. So principle number 3 is just build better habits. So the background of this principle really is a principle around building overall resilience. To the extent that we build up our personal resilience in advance of challenging times, we'll make better decisions through those challenging times because we have the physical, cognitive, emotional reservoir to make those good decisions. So building good habits. How does that play a role in financial planning and investment planning? Well, I've already told you that successful financial planning and investment planning is partly how we marshal our psychology and our emotions. And even physically, having good habits like attending to your diet, getting adequate sleep or rest, taking time to be with your loved ones and friendships and getting outside. There's all kinds of habits that we should strive to build into our life to build up overall resilience. So when we go through challenging times, we're better able to cope with those emotional and psychological challenges. There's lots of research that confirms the efficacy of that kind of practice. Now, how do you apply building better habits into your investment game plan? One simple example is dollar cost averaging. It's such a simple approach, but those investors who do it consistently are able to leverage opportunities over time. So one of the best things you could be doing, even though it's very difficult, I get that, is to be adding, even if it's small incremental amounts, to your portfolio during times of economic and market instability. Because those great companies that are trading at discounts right now will be great companies coming out of this bear market. And if you buy into them now, you're going to get exponential increases in growth in your portfolio. Yes, we don't know when that recovery is going to happen for sure, but we know the discipline of dollar cost averaging, that great habit, will pay great dividends for you. The next principle number 4, is try to exercise or practice self-care through self-control. Now again, self-control ties into the previous habit or principle where we talked about habits to build into your life. And self-control is really impacted by the degree that we are depleted. So if we're making a lot of decisions through the day, if there's stress in our lives, but particularly that decision-making fatigue that happens to us, that depletes our willpower, it depletes our self-control, and we end up making some bad decisions as a result. So as an example, you've had a really busy day, you're tired, all you want to do is, get on the couch, watch some TV, snack a little bit. Yeah, you might get some temporary relief from that. You might feel a little bit better temporarily, but you're probably going to regret that approach over time. Maybe better still, go for a walk with a loved one, spend some time with relationships, read some inspirational literature, try to build in some self-control, and you can do that to the extent that you really pay attention to your schedule and your day, and you build in some buffer so you're not so depleted that you don't have the ability to exercise self-control in those moments when it really, really counts. Principle number 5 is tend and befriend, and that's a principle where you really take control, or you're actually intentional around your relationships. So our basic reaction or instinct when we go through stresses is to become a little bit isolated, wallow in self-pity, focus on ourselves, and that's natural. We all do that. But in those moments, what you should do is turn to your social contacts for mutual support and encouragement. You will feel better by reaching out to other people. The studies and literature around that topic are irrefutable. During times of challenge, focus on those relationships. Go for a walk, call a friend, maybe even just a little bit of texting for encouragement back and forth. But in that moment, don't wallow in self-pity. Try not to do that. Don't allow yourself to become isolated. Reach out to other people, and you'll get encouragement from that. And it'll lead into you making better decisions around even your financial planning and your investment planning, because it'll build some additional resilience into your life and encouragement. And principle number 6, I've already alluded to this, but there's lots of studies to demonstrate that it's very, very efficacious, and that's get outside. Go for walks. Go out in nature. Go to your local park. If you've got a dog, that's awesome. You'll go for dog walks, and I'm sure you feel better after you talk to your dog for half an hour to an hour out on a walk. So make sure that you're getting outside regularly. A lot of times we're just not conscious of that, particularly if we live in colder climates. We're getting into that time of year. You get up and it's dark. You go to work, it's dark. By the time you leave work, it's dark. And you need to fight those tendencies of just getting into that rut where you're always in that mode, where maybe you go out for a walk during the day. For sure you go out on the weekends into the parks during the day and get that light. So it's a really important principle. We're wired as human beings to thrive when we get out in nature. Anyway, I hope that those basic principles are helpful. I'm not sharing with you anything that's new. It's stuff that you've heard before, but I think it's good to be reminded during times of uncertainty, geopolitical uncertainty and economic calamity and market downturns, that by focusing on these different principles, we're going to build in resilience to help us to make better decisions. Again, if you're new to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We post content all the time. And if you don't want to miss that content, hit subscribe. If you like the video, make sure you click like. And if you're in a situation where you're beginning to think about retirement and you'd like to find out how you can get your own complimentary retirement plan, there's a link in the show notes for how you can get more information on getting that complimentary retirement plan. Anyway, I'm wishing you all the best in your retirement and overall wealth planning. You take care.